Hello there and welcome, and I've got some very exciting Company of Heroes 3 news for you. I'm going to go through the 10 points here, I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to be putting my super duper Relic shill hat on because I am now a believer that Relic Entertainment are a lot closer to knocking Company of Heroes 3 out of the park than they are to fluffing their lines and ruining the franchise. I'd say we're like a 9 out of 10 on this scale of looking more like they're going to really do a good job than we are to the never realm of, oh god, what's happened. So let me talk about my reasons for that. And the number one reason, it sounds like a strange one, but it's no reason to be scared. It's the game is going to be delayed. It's now going to come out on February the 23rd instead of November the 17th. And they talk about the dedication of the community through co-development, the feedback, and they talk about, their own standards and wanting to really nail it. And there's absolutely nothing better for me than hearing this. I personally was a big proponent of that. I was saying delay release back in August. And I'm not saying they've done it based on fan feedback. They will have done this because, quite frankly, it's the only thing that makes sense. They're Relic are perfectionists. They've built a reputation on excellence in terms of art design, environmental feel of a game. And even failures like Dawn of War 3 still had a lot of great art and feel and environmental focus. But their incredible successes over the years have all shown a large degree of perfectionism. And that's so awesome to hear because the graphics, the art style, and the UI weren't quite where they needed them to be. And they're going to spend longer on making Company of Heroes 3 feel like Company of Heroes 3 at release. And that's really great to hear. And that brings me on to the second point here, which is about IGN's video for the recent videos showing the UI and stuff like that. So it's kind of a bit of a sneak peek at how the UI's progressed here. But if you look, it's just looking a lot better. I'll just get it playing here and mute it a little bit. But you can see they've moved over some things. And they've made it so there's more of the game available to view. The only thing I'd like to see now is maybe this unit icon in this obvious square here. So it'd be a bit more like Dawn of War 2 or Age of Empire 4's UI. And then maybe the tooltips when you select a unit can come up above the unit indicator. I just think that would be a great blend of the space because you've got all this space around the radar. It doesn't make any sense if there's a big unit icon next to it. But other than that, the whole flow of the information is looking so much better. And let's hope we're not leading to disaster. But yeah, I'm thinking that the UI is looking a lot better. The art style, as we already know, has improved significantly. First, it was the shaders, and now it seems they've worked on the desert elements, the whole Italian feel, and it just seems more grittier and more real and more how you think of World War II when you do, and how you think of Company Heroes when you do. And maybe it'll have that tonal feel and shift that made us all big Company Heroes fans back in the 2000s era when we were blown away by the first installment in the series. And then fourthly, we have good tone and focus. I think we should have had, or I certainly should have had more trust in Relic's initial Deutsche Afrika Korps trailer, the one with the lady chasing the scarf through the desert, because, I did put this theory out there at the time. I worried that they were too worried about the perceptions of glorification of Erwin Rommel and the DAC. And it definitely seems that is the case. They've spoken about this at length in some of their IGN interviews and stuff. They've gone into detail about the kind of juggling the guilt of allowing people to play as the Germans in a campaign on behalf of the Nazi regime. And it's not a good feeling to be developing for that, especially if you're from a cosmopolitan area of the world in Vancouver, Canada, and a lot. There's a small but vocal minority of the players that are definitely like kind of Verabus and maybe some of them even a little bit Nazi and stuff, and it's not a good feeling. So they don't like making games that help those people live out their little fantasies and stuff. So that's why they're making sure the campaign has a great focus on the civilian cost of the war. But since that, they've also now started to satisfy the tonality of just the enjoyment of the military conquest and the battle, which is the other 99% of the fan base. We just like the kind of boys playing with tanks and guns feeling of being strategists. And yeah, it is horrific, the human cost of these endeavours, but we're not here for that. That's on the news. We just want to drink a beer, play some 4v4 with our buddies, and enjoy Company of Heroes. So it seems that's where they've gone since there. They've released a United States Forces trailer, and given that IGN are currently doing a month of content, one would expect that's what we're going to see more of next, like the other factions and stuff. And talking about other factions, number 5 on my list is 4. We have 4 factions at launch. And how I'm presenting this, and why I think you should be excited, is for the first time Company of Heroes is releasing, instead of 2, with 4 factions. Because the problem was in the past is it felt like they designed a game based around more than 2 factions and then they released them as DLC. And especially Company of Heroes 2, it didn't feel right because they were already selling commanders. For example, the British Forces, released in 2015, 2 years after release, it itself had pay-to-win commanders on release day. Just the whole commanders DLC situation really made Company of Heroes 2's DLC model not feel correct. And I think Relic have learnt from that, from everything I've seen. There's a bit of language that are making people suspicious about the premium battle passes and stuff like that. And I definitely think that's going to be about battle groups. And battle groups seem like a lot more content and value for money and possibly post-release development time effort than a commander. A commander is just 5 things in a sequence, but a battle group is 2 branches of a tree, which each have 2 branches of their own. So it's 4 branches of the same tree, and it's basically 4 commanders in one, isn't it? Because you can play... Well, you can play it in more than 4 ways because you can choose the mutually exclusive decisions going down the branches of that tree, and you get to choose many ways to play a battle group, so it's better value for money. So if that's the way they're going with the like the multiplayer affecting arm of the DLC and cosmetics, the fact that we're also now having 4 factions and we're not having to pay for factions post-release means that it seems like a lot better DLC model. We're getting 1, better value for money, and 2, we're getting twice as many factions for multiplayer at release. So based on the awful launch of CoH3 for me personally, with the pay-to-win commanders that followed, and the fact that it just felt like a little bit of a letdown, well, quite a bit of a letdown. I lost many Company of Heroes friends to that. They just never played because they just were so turned off the idea by the pay-to-win elements of the commanders and stuff. It definitely feels that if they get the balance right and they're not overpowered battle groups, I must say that we're getting better value for money with the DLC model for CoH3, and they're giving us twice the amount of factions. So I think there's reasons to be cheerful. Next on the list, we're getting mod tools and workshop integration at launch. Let me show you this blog article from Relic themselves. This includes maps and scenarios, game modes, and tuning packs. So yes, it is going to be better than Company of Heroes 2 because that did not release with such full-fledged tools at launch. And to be honest, it's better than a lot of its modern equivalents. It's a lot better than what you would currently expect a AAA title to release with. So it's reasons to be excited. The current crop of Company of Heroes 2 map makers, tuning pack creators, and mission designers in the community are going to be in their own little version of heaven in the new Essence editor. And I've seen a video of this. I urge you to go and watch it on the IGN channel. It looks pretty damn good, to be honest. But what this isn't, and what I personally think, and this isn't based on any Relic information, what this isn't ever going to be is full conversion mods. The 2000s era of the ability of modders to completely take a game and reimagine it as a new game in the same kind of umbrella has gone. Speaking commercially, because I work in industry, and I have a, my job is to understand numbers within business. I don't personally think it's commercially viable to allow your fans to create content that is as good as, if not better than, the content you create, if you do not get any profit from it. And the whole industry has had huge issues with this because they've tried to do paid for community created DLC and everyone hated it. So now I think the industry's spooked by that, and I don't think we're ever going to see that attempted again as much, where modders in the community are selected to work with Relic as much. What we are going to see, though, is tuning packs, maps, and missions. So it's never going to be as good as CoH3. We're never going to have Blitzkrieg, Eastern Fronts, Great War, Modern Combat, all these incredible mods. By the way, I pretty much just listed the best 4 for CoH3. Go check them out. I happen to be casting an Eastern Fronts tournament that's coming up soon. I'm really chuffed about that. We're never going to see that again because, quite frankly, I don't think it makes good business sense. But what we are getting is something to be excited about, and it's more than I ever thought we would be getting. Number 7, performance improvements. Question mark, exclamation, question mark. Why do I have to put those caveats in? Because I am privy to the community council / co-development it's called, and I have played builds that the public may have not been able to play. As you can see, I'm very enthusiastic about CoH3. Read between the lines. But what you can see publicly is the FPS in these public trailers has increased dramatically. It's all smooth as butter. It's just looking like you can even see the smoke in the background. Just look at all the smoke. In fact, it's running too fast, if anything. But what that's beginning to show me, and should be showing you, is the improvements they've made on performance are tremendous. And you should be excited by that. Number 8, a little bit of a defense from Relic time and a little bit of possible background news for you, but it's all publicly available. I have checked because they've mentioned it in some of their long play interviews and stuff. The engine has been built from scratch in combination with Age of Empires 4. Relic, after the disaster that was Dawn of War 3, somehow managed to bag a Microsoft contract to make Age of Empires 4, and also got greenlit to make CoH3 with their publisher, Sega. They made 2 games in parallel, which is unheard of for a studio of their size, so big kudos to them for managing to pull this off. But it definitely seems to me that they've pooled resources where they needed, and they've had the time to dedicate resources to building an engine from scratch and iterating on it and encoding, and I think we're going to now get the big juicy dividend from that. We're going to get the juicy pie that their hard labour is going to build for us. It's going to be better performance, hopefully, and the development we're going to get after release is going to knock Company Heroes 2 out the park. You may have found, if you're a long-term Company Heroes 2 fan, you may be aware of all the difficulties Relic have had with allowing modding, allowing map making, allowing iteration for Company Heroes 2, because quite frankly, it was a mess. Company Heroes 2 was basically a mod for Company Heroes 1, basically. And this is modders that have told me that. These are community people that have delved into the files of Company Heroes 2. It's basically CoH3 with bells and whistles attached. They're very good bells and whistles, but that's basically what it is. Company Heroes 3 is not that. It's a clean break and a brand new sequel. And you need to bear that in mind. But now with 4 extra months of delay in terms of build-up, they might actually have the chance to pull the damn thing off. It may be a true AAA, genuine sequel to Company Heroes 1, and it's only taken 16 years. We've had Company Heroes 2 in the meantime, which was a damn fine game. The extended post-development time, they were able to claw it back from being a very average or below average game into being a solid 7 or 8 out of 10, from about 5 or a 6 out of 10. Company Heroes 3 may start as an 8 or a 9 out of 10, it looks like. 2 campaigns. One of them linear, playing as the Germans. Ooh, controversial. The other, much more Total War and Ardennes Assault-inspired campaign map, playing as the Americans and British. That sounds like a single player's heaven. That sounds awesome. We're going to get way more casual players into the fold. Way more people are going to filter down Don't forget, we're bottom feeders here in the competitive realm. A huge whale dies 1,000 leagues above us. That's the campaign players. After launch, the whale dies, and over time, the sediment settles on the bottom of the ocean, and we come out, and we make like GCS tournaments, and then we get some people watching them. And stuff like that. That's how the model works. Right now, we're going from a small whale, a porpoise, to a big-ass blue whale or a humpback or something, because those players are going to be satisfied so much more with CoH3's release. With the polish, the graphics, the UI, 4 factions, 2 campaigns, performance improvements by the looks of things, mod tools, a new engine, a genuine reason to put $50 or $60 whatever into a game. We're going to need a bigger boat, basically. And I'm really excited. Number 9. I'm trying to give myself energy because I've had a long day at work. But number 9. Messy balance equals fun balance. I have gone back in time and I have identified the times I was most excited by the competitive elements of this game, its tournaments and its casting, and the players that played at those times. Company Heroes 1, 2012-13, patch 2.602. It was a lot messier than CoH2 is now, a lot more fun, and it was still played by great players, playing really hard, but it was just messy and fun and silly in places, and the power spikes and the damage and the gambles, the risk-reward gameplay was just more satisfying to watch. Not as refined as CoH2 is now. And that's why I think Company Heroes 2 arguably became too refined, too underpowered across the board. The smorgasbord of abilities became less exciting and exotic, in my opinion. It's still pretty cool. It's very tactically and strategically pleasing, but you kind of get bored with that over time, and it's like, oh, okay, 2 AT guns, 2 machine guns, blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit tedious, in my opinion. The game's much better polished, the quality of life features are fantastic, but if you go back and watch, for example, on my channel, some of the Company Heroes 1 videos I've done recently, and just try and look at it with a fresh gaze if you're a CoH2 fan. CoH1 for me just seems more visceral, more tactile, more fun, more pleasing to be engaged by. Because the art style and the environment, yes, CoH2 could never hope to beat that because they just, whatever time Relic just hit something in 2006 that felt right. But also, because you've got these expert players like the Naganos and the, BK mod tests of the world playing CoH1 at a very high level still, but CoH1's inherently messier and more chaotic, in my opinion, it's just more fun to watch. It's more fun to cast. It's more fun to possibly even play. The fact that these players play for no money in tournaments may indicate to you, by the way, that CoH1 still to this day is arguably a better piece of art than CoH2 is. And I think CoH3 is going to have probably about 60-40 CoH2 to CoH1 elements, but that 40% is going to be very obvious in the resource dynamics, in the power spikes, and in the kind of messiness of the balance at launch. It's not going to be super refined. It possibly is going to be more fun than CoH2 though, and I just really hope I'm right on that. And even if not, I think it'll be great to watch regardless for competitive play. And that brings me on to number 10, community tournaments. I'm feeling the hype personally. I've been definitely the most dominant community tournament organizer in the last 6 years, since 2016. And I've been doing it for 10 years. I've seen the ebbs and flows of tournaments, and I personally am ready to delve back in, and I'm hoping a lot of other tournament organisers are ready to do the same. CoH1's knocking it out the park again at the moment. We've had 5 tournaments in 3 months for CoH1. Really want some of the CoH2 fans to come out of the closet and to start organising tournaments, and it's tough work, it's thankless work, but someone's got to do it. So, yeah, let's have a couple of tournaments for CoH2, but I'm personally really excited for CoH3. I think it's going to be a blast. I'm thinking of getting the Master League back out. Get the old Master League back out, get the posters unfurled, get the banners back out for the Master League. And if we can't get Relic and Sega sponsorship, which I'll certainly apply for, May even be able to get some businesses to sponsor. And then if not, we can go back to non-profit, good old community resources. And you guys have been tremendous ever since GCS 1 to present day in funding tournaments I've organised. And every penny of fan money has gone into prize pools. Or if it's a live project, it's been fully costed and fully accounted for live attended tournaments. And it's just been a blast, quite frankly. It's been a blast. I believe that you guys will be with me for the ride. But first and foremost, let's see what's possible with the developers and publishers. Let's see what's possible with businesses. So if you've got any contacts or you represent a business that's willing to sponsor good old community tournaments, get in touch, aecomat@gmail.com. And if you yourself are an organizer or you want to have any degree of consultancy, if you're doing it for non-profit, I'm always willing to help. And if not, you want some help on a consultancy basis, just be in touch. I just want what's best for Company of Heroes. First and foremost, I want amazing games to cast, and I want, if not, amazing games to watch. Because I think Company of Heroes, when it's at its best, just kind of, yes, cerebral, kind of tactical and strategic play, but also messy, chaotic fun. When those two elements combine, you've got an amazing spectacle. And hopefully that's what you get what I mean when I say number 10 community tournaments, because I'm starting to feel that even if we don't get observer mode, we'll probably have replays and we can probably make that work. But let's hope we get observer mode. Anyway, there's 10 points for you there. I'm eager to hear what you think. Have I managed to make you more excited? Or are you still cynical? Or were you already excited and you've got other points that make you even more fervently fanatical than myself? Just let me know in the comments section below. Let's have some recourse and discourse, and maybe, who knows, maybe someone at Relic will read some of it. Thank you for watching, and have a pleasant rest of your week. Cheers.